It is every Washington reporter's dream to sit down at a restaurant, overhear secret stuff, and get a scoop. It rarely happens. Still, everyone in town important enough to have secrets worth keeping knows that secrets are not safe on the Acela train and in Washington restaurants. Trump lawyer Ty Cobb was overheard discussing sensitive information at the BLT steak restaurant in Washington. Photo Reuters. This is especially true in eateries next door to a major newspaper. Yes, Ty Cobb and John Dowd, lawyers for President Donald Trump, were talking to you. But it's too late now. Dowd represents Trump but does not work at the White House. Cobb is a White House employee who is instantly recognizable to many because of his handlebar mustache. Together, they went for what appears to have been a working lunch at BLT Steak in Washington. It's close to the White House and very convenient. It's also next door to the building that houses the Washington bureau of the New York Times. Sitting at the next table, according to the Times, was one of Washington's most skillful investigative reporters, Kenneth Vogel. Vogel is former reporter for Politico, which is based in Virginia, who arrived at the Times just in time for the Russia investigation and, as it turned out, just in time for lunch. Vogel overheard them talking about White House counsel Donald F. McGahn and Jared Kushner, President Trump's son-in-law, as well as the infamous Trump Tower meeting. Here's a sample from the article bearing the bylines of Vogel and Peter Baker. Mr. Cobb was heard talking about a White House lawyer he deemed a McGahn spy and saying Mr. McGahn had a couple documents locked in a safe that he seemed to suggest he wanted access to. He also mentioned a colleague whom he blamed for some of these earlier leaks, and who he said tried to push Jared out. The White House counsel's office is being very conservative with this stuff, Mr. Cobb told Mr. Dowd. Our view is we're not hiding anything. Referring to Mr. McGahn, he added, he's got a couple documents locked in a safe. Mr. Cobb also discussed the June 2016 Trump Tower meeting and the White House's response to it, saying that there was no perception that there was an exchange. Vogel took their picture and tweeted it. Dowd was in the news in April for forwarding a conspiracy theorist's email to government officials, conservative journalists and others equating Robert E. Lee with George Washington, and Black Lives Matter with terrorist groups. The Times broke that story too. Fool me once. According to the Times, the breach did not sit well with White House Chief of Staff John F. Kelly, who, after being contacted by the Times, privately erupted at Mr. Cobb. Whether he also erupted at Dowd is not known. Trump and his aides have complained bitterly and often about leaks, including leaks from the White House. But who needs leaks when lunch reservations will suffice? The Washington Post.